Yo, coming to you live from World Championship in San Jose. Welcome to the Living Legends podcast.
Really like Amnesia as a sideboard option against specifically, what was it?
You want to know why Amnesia's good?
Dromai?
Because it attacks for 6 and blocks for 3. That's why it's good. It blocks for 3.
Oh no, it was Down and Dirty. I was like, this card's actually kind of insane against specifically Dromai.
Yeah.
Just because it's a popper that you can defend from Arsenal with.
Yeah. I was gonna say Prism 2, which will probably be very relevant once Dusk Till Dawn comes out. And so like Down and Dirty, I think it might be one of those cards. I think it's a sideboard card basically. Because other than that, it's a 2 for 6 that only blocks 2, which is kind of poop. It's kind of like duty poops. But against Illusionist specifically, it's all right.
Yeah, I actually like it as like a popper option if Illusionist becomes too crazy.
You know what you could do with this and Riptide? You could de-react on their turn from hand, put Down and Dirty into your arsenal, and then block with Down and Dirty to pop something if you have to.
Yeah.
You could do that. I don't know if it's good, but it's just something you could do.
Yeah. It's super weird. Although, yeah, no, Amnesia is good against, obviously Ninja is like the easiest thing to say that it's good against. But anyway, yeah, the set is sick. It feels like Assassin got like cool stuff, but not a really big, like not a critical mass of cool stuff. Like the stealth cards, there are so many of them, and so many of them are just not good, like we were saying. But the ones that are good are very good.
I wish they had stealth. I mean, this is coming from someone who is an Assassin player. I wish they had statted up every 0 attack stealth card. I wish it was 0 for 4 instead of 0 for 3.
And I think they could have been. I don't think they have like strong enough effects to not really. I think they might have been worried about Arachne Solitary Confinement.
Yeah, so I have a feeling it might have been for draft consideration, for limited consideration. That's what it feels like to me. Because if it's in draft and you're like, oh, all of my every common stealth card that I draft is a 0 for 4 go again. If every common stealth card is a Scar for a Scar, then that seems pretty good, right? If you're just packing like 8 red Scar for a Scars in your deck, that seems good for draft. So
yeah,
I feel like a lot of that sort of balance was probably for draft. And this is a little bit, I don't know, I am recording now, so I'm not sure what I'm going to leave in, but this is a little bit of some news to both of you guys and the audience. I was talking to Brian Gottlieb last night, and I was just being like, hey dude, I love this set, it's awesome, I love the flavor and the mechanic, I think you guys killed it. And then we got to chatting a little bit, and he is cool with being on the podcast again to talk about designing outsiders. Definitely want to talk about Uzuri. Definitely want to talk about the catalyst that brought this up is he mentioned that there's no talent in the set, and I was like, hey, that's something I really want to ask you or James in an interview. And he was like, hey, well, if you'd ever like to have me on, let me know. And I'm like, let's do it. So I'll talk to you guys privately about like scheduling and stuff, but in the next like 2 weeks, like soon.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So I think it's gonna be awesome. We'll have the community. We'll vet questions from the community, and then we'll have our own questions we can ask him, and just all about Outsiders design. So if anything comes up today that we were talking about and that we want to ask him about in particular, like I really want to ask him about the no talents in the set. But there's also other stuff like Uzuri. Maybe we can ask him about all of the stealth cards attacking for 3 for the Reds.
Yeah, I suspect that it's because of Solitary Confinement.
I think so for sure.
Because I actually am pretty interested in making this deck. It's just like a pretty standard aggro deck, just being able to potentially come in for like, I don't know, 10-ish a turn.
Yeah.
Because giving something just go again, like just with no hoops to jump through, you don't have to pay for it or anything, is like actually a solid effect.
Yeah.
The only downside is that the stealth cards themselves aren't phenomenal, but I do think that was probably by design. And that was
I really think solitary confinement is going to be nasty in draft because something that we haven't talked about yet on the podcast, and I haven't talked about on Red Zone Rogue, is that there are some reprint cards that are very strong here. Notably, Ravenous Rabble is getting reprinted in here. So, like, if you high pick Ravenous Rabble and you still have stealth cards, you can always do stealth card for 0, go again, Ravenous Rabble plus another card. So you can always come in for about, like, 10-ish, points of damage across several cards. Not even including like whatever dagger you're attacking with or whatever. Probably Spider's Bite, but So yeah, it's interesting. By the way, how's it going, everyone? And welcome to the Living Legends podcast.
Oh, we've started. Caught me off guard there.
This is your weekly Flesh and Blood podcast. We talk about all aspects of the Flesh and Blood trading card game. Today, we are talking about Outsiders. In particular, we're talking about our first impressions and just general impressions of the set. We do have some really interesting week in Flesh and Blood stuff that we can talk about as well. I know Az has some stuff, some exciting news, and I have a couple things I just want to mention. But
yes.
I am, as always, joined by my absolutely excellent co-host. Let's introduce Bill first. Hey, Bill, how's it going, man?
It's going pretty good. Hey, everybody, I'm Bill from the Spike Feeders, and I'm so excited to be able to talk about this. Actually, just finished my long-form card-by-card set review with Tommy Fresh over from Fresh and Buds.
Nice.
We did it over 2 days, yesterday and the day before, because usually, for those of you who are aware of that, it's usually about a 5-hour endeavor, and we figured we'd just split it up to make sure that we can keep enough energy all the way to the end. So I've gotten a lot of opportunity to look through these cards, and I think I have some pretty interesting takes just right off the hop for some of these. The one thing I will say is something that came up more often than not when looking at these cards is that while the power level isn't like at least overtly really crazy, there were so many times I looked at this and I was like, this is the exact right way this card should have been designed. I was impressed by the design of the cards so much. So I'm excited to rehash that again with you both.
Yeah, and I just want to just toss this in too. A lot of people consider Tales of Aria to be one of the most busted sets they ever made, but when the set launched, people did not think that. So just saying, people did not say that Aria was busted when it came out. So
yeah, it ended up warping a bunch of formats. So,
and of course, we are also joined by Az from Aagaard Gaming. How's it going, man? How you doing this week?
Yeah, not bad. Yeah, but I had a bit of a strange week. It's gone like this, like this week.
Good old roller coaster.
Yeah. So haven't had the chance to look at the cards in detail, but thank God that Bill has spent the last five hours speaking to the aforementioned Tommy Fresh about all the cards here. But yeah, very, very interested to go into all of them today and get everyone's thoughts, and leave your comments in the section below as to what you feel this set entails. But yeah, I'm really, really looking forward to playing with these cards. I've got a pre-release booked for the 20th.
Hell yeah.
So yeah, I just can't wait to play them physically. And I think as well, you can access a lot of these cards, obviously, and test these cards on the online platforms like Talishar and Felt Table and all that sort of thing. But to me, I don't know about you and the audience out there, but I prefer to play with these cards like in the flesh before actually going online and brewing stuff. So I want to actually experience the packs being opened and the cards being seen before actually building decks out of it, if that makes sense. I'm one of those people that like to have all the physical representation first, which is probably goes hand in hand as to why I haven't really experienced all of them yet. But yeah, I just can't wait to get my hands on it, especially with the limited and sealed. As we know, it's going to be a really, really good experience for that. So I can't wait to do that either. So
I am 50-50, and this will go into the conversation today because I've already been brewing. Well, I've been brewing my Uzuri list for a little while, but I've also been upgrading or updating my No Fuse Lexi. I'm toying around with Riptide. I'm finding actually Riptide to be challenging to build. I don't think, and we can talk about this later when we talk about Riptide, I don't think a trap focused deck is there. I think it's more of like a hybrid kind of deal where you play like it's like aggro and you use his ability, like his first ability for aggression, and then you like supplement it with like the good traps because, well, we'll talk about it when we get to talk about the traps, but there's some of them are amazing, some of them are just like, yeah, you know.
I've got to say though, I do love Riptide's effect, and I think like on previous podcasts and Azalea cults and stuff, that was one of my theories, was being able to reload on your opponent's turn to make and leverage the traps, because obviously the traps, as that was explained in the article, James said that the old ones could be playable. How can you possibly make them playable? You have to be able to reload them in order to play them when you can't necessarily play them. I think we've said that before somewhere along the lines of the speculation, but that did come to pass in a certain way where if you play a card on your turn, you can reload, essentially. So
yeah, I've been toying around with versions of Riptide where I'm actually using the Skullbone Crosswrap to smooth out your hand. So basically, what the idea is, you so say this is just kind of like a normal play pattern. 0 cost, go again. So like say you do Ravenous Rebel or something like that, and then playing it, you load the card face down into your arsenal. After Ravenous Rebel resolves, then you use your Skullbone Crosswrap to opt, right? And you can either opt the card top or bottom or whatever, or you can even do this the reverse order, so you can see what the card is on top for Ravenous Rebel. But in either case, you play a card, load a card down, activate, cross-wrap, opt, and then continue, to just shoot off. And every single turn, you'll have like this opt ability to smooth out your next draw. And you can do that very, very consistently, like turn over turn. And then like you can use the new legendary, the Trench, to then basically use its effect to put the face down ones, like the traps or whatever that are stuck in your arsenal for the extra resources. So
that's something that I think is going to be pretty important. If a turn goes by where you have a trap and it didn't, you just weren't able to block with it or whatever, then instead of just having to take that turn off because you're just not able to attack, having access to the Trench of Sunken Treasure and putting that card away so that you can actually have an active turn is actually going to be something that I think people are going to, if they don't run the Trench, they're probably going to miss it in their play pattern.
You 100. I think if you're playing Riptide, you like 100% run the Trench. I think, and this is maybe not a hot take, but I think that's probably the only Ranger you probably run the Trench with.
I think so as well. Yeah,
I've been fiddling around with it in Lexi, and I don't think it works very well. But I think it works very well in Riptide. And I was talking to my Discord, on the Rogues Gallery Discord, about it, and I was like, I think you run actually Skullbone and this, and someone was like, yeah, it's a non-bow because you do both, and I'm like, well, yeah, but like you have the option to do either, and you're basically not gonna Trench unless you have just something just stuck, like jammed up in your arsenal. You could technically activate something like Death Dealer, put the card face down with Death Dealer, and then Trench that for an extra resource. But like you're down on. Well, no, Death Dealer puts it face up, right?
Yeah, because it has to be an arrow.
Yeah. So check that. No, that doesn't work. So yeah, I don't know. I think I like using both in Riptide.
Yeah.
Either that, or you're running like Crown of Providence or Skullbone or the Arcanite Skullcap. I think New Horizon is actively bad in Riptide because everything Riptide cares about is putting the cards face down, and you only get the extra arsenal slot if the cards are face up. So like the Trench cares about it being face down, and Riptide's ability puts it face down. So like you're not going to get a lot of face up arrows.
Yeah,
you're getting. No, you're getting. I know we're going on a Riptide train right now, but this is what it's all about, really. When as the thoughts come, but Riptide. That's why I love. That's in Azalea. That's why I loved reload cards so much, because every single reload card turned every other card into an opt with the crossbow, with the skull bone.
Yep.
So Riptide is doing that with any card, because you play any card from hand, any of your other cards in hand turn into a reloader, which will be an opt if you're running the skullbone. So those lines are made more consistent. And obviously with the Trench as well, you can turn those reloaded cards into a resource every single turn as well. So it's like there's quite a lot of filtering going on with it.
Yeah.
The
worst part about the Trench is you lose card advantage, because you have to tuck the card, and that's a card that you could potentially play. But like we were talking about, I think a lot of the times that you use the Trench is if you have a trap stuck in your arsenal and you can't do anything about it. Especially if you're playing cards that give you ponder tokens, which I think you probably are. I think you're probably playing at least some of the codices, and you can say you codex. You ponder, draw the card, right, and then you immediately arsenal it, and then draw for your turn. Then what you do, if that card is just a trap and it's just sitting there, they don't do anything, you still need to clear it, and then on your next turn you could clear it, get that extra resource maybe to activate your Dreadbore or Death Dealer, which I think are the two bows I think you probably consider for Riptide. It's honestly probably Death Dealer. Drawing a card is just so good, but I really like Dreadbore, and Dreadbore giving you that +1 makes Bolton Shot's pretty good with him as well. I
think we can expect a lot of D-reacts as well. If there's going to be a lot of Riptide and traps, there's going to be a lot of D-reacts. So Dreadbore could be quite good in this day and age. If there's going to be a lot of
that's one of the things that's really funny about Riptide specifically, is I have seen people say, like, I think that Dreadbore is just a good option for him, but if every Riptide decides to play Dreadbore, that makes the mirror match miserable.
You're gonna be trenching all day long.
Trenching, absolute trench.
Okay. We're a little bit in the seaweeds here now. Get it because of Riptide. No,
you didn't have to explain the joke.
I think it's never mind.
That was brilliant.
Anyway, let's go over a week in Flesh and Blood real quick before we get into more talk, because I think we could just talk forever about this. So since I'm technically the host, I'll go ahead and do my week real quick, and then we can go to Azz, who has probably more robust than like he said, he's got like a roller coaster to take us on. We're going to be going on to the I'm trying to think of a good roller coaster. Cruising USA. Why is Cruising USA the first roller coaster that I think of?
Roller Coaster Tycoon.
It's a good game. I actually played Roller Coaster Tycoon as a kid.
It's a quality game. Yeah.
Well, what you do is you do the bobsleds, and you have it go down really, really sharp, and then have a quick bump, and you'll rocket the people off the bobsled, and then they explode.
Brilliant.
That's what you do when you get bored in Roller Coaster Tycoon. Or you set the ride that it's kind of like the Tower of Terror, where it just shoots up really quick and then comes back down. You have it maximum velocity shoot up, and then make it the smallest
minimum track length.
Yeah. Just blast off.
It's like when you're playing. It's like when you're playing The Sims, and you build like a diving board, but with no swimming pool beneath it. So they just climb up the diving board and jump into the floor and just die.
That's a little bit more funny, because
like lemmings.
Because it's like their own cognition. Like, at least the rides, like, they don't know ahead of time. But for that one,
they've made that decision.
Yeah.
Wow.
Anyway, okay, so my week in Flesh and Blood has mostly been doing content, right? So I've been on the content train. I've been diving into some conspiracy theories. So my video today was all about Flesh and Blood conspiracy theories. Got my little tinfoil hat on.
I haven't watched that yet.
Ooh, there's some good stuff. I have very, very compelling evidence that the Fabled for Outsiders is an assassin Fabled, and I have somewhat compelling evidence that it's an Arachne specialization. So you can go watch that one. The video's doing
Nice.
quite well. And then there's another conspiracy theory, and that is that Legend Story Studios is hiding the names of future sets in the flavor text of past sets. And I also have many cases of evidence to show that is true, such as the card Uprising from the set Uprising literally mentions Dynasty in the flavor text, but the D is capitalized, right? And you're like, okay, maybe that's just
Yeah.
kind of a coincidence. Maybe they're just capitalizing Dynasty for no reason, right? Even though Dynasty is the next set. And then you look at Dynasty, and there's a card called Invoke Soraya. And you look at the flavor text on Soraya, and it literally says Dusk Till Dawn on it with capital D and capital D. And we know that Dusk Till Dawn is the next set after Outsiders.
Yeah.
And so, with all of that knowledge, that they're clearly hiding the set names in flavor text, you look at Outsiders, and there's one card in Outsiders that has a weird capitalization in it, and that is on, I can pull it up here too. That is on Katsu's specialization. And long story short,
visit the Flying Dojo or something. That one, is it?
Visit the Flying Dojo. So, podcast listeners, I'll read it out for you. But visual watchers, I know that's redundant, but if you're watching this on YouTube, you should be able to see it here. So visit the Floating Dojo. Grandmasters of old reside atop Skylark Peak. Now, Skylark is capitalized. I don't think that's what it is. I think Skylark is capitalized because it's a proper name. But let's continue. Amongst these transcendents, he may find the answers he seeks. The word transcendence is capitalized, which is a little weird. And Transcendence isn't that much of a different naming convention than Outsiders. And so I think there's a very, very real chance that Transcendence is the name of an upcoming Flesh and Blood set. And based on the art and the theme here, it will be the Mysteria set. Whether or not that's the set following Dusk Till Dawn, we don't know. It could actually be the some set next year, but yeah, conspiracies. It's been a lot of fun. There's also, if you go back and look, there's also 2 references to the word shadows being capitalized in weird spots. I don't know if that means we're gonna have a set called Shadows, or if Shadows is a proper name that refers to like an organization or type of creature or something in Flesh and Blood lore. But that's another thing. So it's just been doing that. And the other thing I want to say before I pitch it off to Az is this past, and I did a little tweet. I did a big tweet about this. Like Outsider spoiler season and the last couple weeks of Flesh and Blood have made me realize some pretty important things about like my feelings towards Flesh and Blood just in general. And long story short is that I love Flesh and Blood a lot. Like a lot. So much more than other card games. Like anytime new Flesh and Blood news drops, I get super excited and I have to like go run and record like immediately. So I think the end result is that I'm going to actually be reevaluating some side projects, and I'll be likely cutting back on other games and spending in other regards and focusing a lot more on Flesh and Blood. I already focus mostly on Flesh and Blood. Like if you look at my videos, I think like 9 out of 10 of my last videos are Flesh and Blood, but I think it might actually end up being like 1 out of 20 now instead of like 9 out of 10. So I love Outsiders so much that it made me realize just how much I love Flesh and Blood. So
and just where it can potentially go in the future as well. It's just
it's that
crazy.
And James White saying, we talked about this in the last episode, that they want to do 4 sets a year. Because like it's a very real concern being a content creator, like a full-time content creator, that if Flesh and Blood only has like 3 sets a year, then you're going to run out of content, like interesting content to talk about. But I really think it's doable with 4 sets a year. And so, yeah. So I have a lot of thoughts about that. I'll talk about that on my, on Red Zone Rogue. I'll probably talk about that on my 15K celebration, but, without
You know,
further...
is that, you know when that's happening yet at all, or not?
Yes. So I'm having a good friend of mine. So this is a little bit spoiler for that. So I'm having a good
Sweet.
friend of mine who is a better animator than me animate our 15K celebration artwork that you can... I've already started to use it in some of my branding. You can see it in like my YouTube banner, my Twitter banner and stuff. But he's going to animate the image for me, and I'm going to have a little trailer showing that off for the 15K video. And then it'll be like announce the giveaway. We'll talk about the channel a little bit. Giveaway is going to be real spicy. Giving away like some Black Tech Whispers plus a bunch of other stuff.
Nice.
Like several $100s worth of stuff probably. And then we'll announce the 15K playmat and sleeves and all that kind of stuff. I'm really excited for it. The playmat looks really nice. I don't have it yet. It should be coming soon. But anyway, let's go ahead and baton pass this over to Azz, and he can talk about his week and his revelations, I guess, in content. So have at it, man.
Yeah. So I'll start on a bit of a negative, somber note first of all. So I did a little tweet out recently, and the support that I got back from it was quite interesting. So I was very disillusioned with like the sort of day-to-day job that a lot of us probably have. You know, people that create and stuff. A lot of us do have other jobs that we do to fund our passion or fund our hobby. Mm-hmm. And I was just like, you know, I can think it was the other day, yesterday, 2 days ago, I tweeted out that I'm just really fed up with my job essentially, and that I was disillusioned with it, because all I want to do, or all I want to try and do, is make content, or, you know, do this sort of thing, because I've had a lot of good feedback from videos and stuff over the years, and, you know, it's just something I really want to do. It's kind of hard to explain, but it's just one of those things that really got to me on that day, and I don't even know how to put it across. Like, even now on this podcast, there's so much that I had to take a day off from you know, mentally, which I haven't had to do in a while. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that was a tough day. And then, like, you know, coming back round full circle today, I was made a YouTube partner finally, which is like one of those things that I've tried to achieve for a while. So it's just like gone from being down in the pits to then up in the light of Solana all in one week. And I know it's not, you know, once you get to this stage of monetization, all that sort of thing, it's not going to make a massive difference. But mentally, it's like, oh yeah, I've achieved something now, and you can start to see, you know, it's not much, but when you start to see the rewards of your work being generated passively through income that might be ads on your videos. I don't even know how it works at this point, because I've only just delved into it, so I'm going to need to do some more research into it. But yeah, it's been a bit of a wild ride this week, and hence why I haven't had too much time to look at the cards, which is why I'm excited to go through it today as well.
Yeah, I mean, if you have any questions about like the AdSense or whatever, I can help you. I can help you set that all up pretty easily.
Yeah.
But
and for everybody listening, for you guys listening as well, for everybody who's listening out there, that was probably just a mad ramble. It didn't really make much sense, but that just goes to show the state of mind that has been the Azz mind over the last week.
I think a lot of people out there can relate to like not feeling appreciated at work, you know, or like you know, being down at, you know, at their job. I know a lot of folks out there probably work at jobs that they don't particularly like, you know. They work at the job so they can afford to do things that they do enjoy, right? And for me, like, you know, I started Red Zone Rogue in 2016, so I did this for like 4 or 5 years before I was able to go full time. And a lot of it was due to luck and being in the right place at the right time, and the fact that, you know, I noticed that Flesh and Blood was awesome right when it came out, and I was able to you know, be one of the first people to get on that. But
Yeah.
Like I know how it is, and I think a lot of people can relate to it. You know, one of the things I would think about when I was working in my job, I didn't have a terrible job, and I was like in like what you'd probably call like middle management or something, but it was like, I always fought for my employees, and I always felt that a lot of us, me included or myself included, like they they wanted us to like live to work and not like work to live. Um, and like I didn't my whole life isn't my job, right? I'm only working so I can do my actual life. like
That's it. Yeah.
like unless you're like in a career that like is your actual passion, you're gonna be in that situation. Like if you're like working some like in some cubicle or like an stocking shelves at the grocery store or whatever, it's likely not your passion, right?
No, that's it.
So
Yeah.
anyway, that's a long-winded way of saying I think people can relate. It's not something I talk about, but like workers' rights and that kind of stuff is all something that I get pretty fired up about actually. Like I said, when I was in management, I always fought really hard for the people like under me, like my team. So that's something I personally care a lot about. So anyway, just keep at it, man. Like I can help you in what ways that I can, but I think you can get there. It just takes time for everyone. Even like other really large Flesh and Blood content creators like DM Armada. I know talking with him that he also would like to go full time sometime, and he's like crushing it, and he's still having a hard time doing that. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
it's not easy.
No, it's not easy. Yeah, exactly. And I just have to remember that it is still very much like a passion project, and something that you do to enjoy it. So if anything, this can be used as an escapism as well, which is another reason why games are so good, is because it's a way where you can escape into a different world for a while and just lose yourself in it. And that's probably what a lot of us do. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's it can definitely be tough, but this game's pretty great, and the people that play it are pretty great too.
Yeah.
So hopefully
Yeah.
that
Exactly. Yeah.
Special for this episode, special shout out to the people who are listening to this episode while just kind of like piddling away at your job. Shout out to you. Keep it up.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I just finished at work like half an hour ago before we started. I guess it was like basically just before we started filming. So
yeah,
nice. And I've said many times that I used to, when I worked, I had a lot of different jobs, but when I worked as a baker, I would listen to podcasts, and that really helped me pass the time. So hopefully we can help you pass the time. We're going to talk about some cool outsider stuff. Bill, before we get started though, did you have a week that you would like to talk about?
I mean, basically just what I had mentioned, that I did my set review with Tommy Fresh. That's
50 hours set review?
Yeah, I basically have just been doing that, and I'm very much trying to put together some decks that I really want to play. I think I'm going to put together a few Blitz decks that I think are really going to, turn my crank, as it were. The new tools that Tiger Benji has, I think, are really interesting. I genuinely am intrigued by the idea of Arachne Solitary Confinement, just like aggro. I think that I think we may have mentioned this. I don't know if it made it into the intro, but the fact that Arachne just gives cards with stealth go again just for free is like actually not. It's not something to be overlooked, I think. I
mean,
just randomly giving stuff go again is good.
They gave him 19 health, so the dev team has to think his ability is so good that they had to knock him down to at least 1 health.
Yeah, so I'm intrigued by that. I want to put that together, Benji, and then I for sure want to make some sort of Katsu deck. I'm probably going to try both a Blitz and a CC version.
Nice.
I don't know. I have more of an idea of what the CC version is going to look like. Shout out to TCG Talk. I've been watching a lot of his videos about post Outsiders Katsu, and it just looks like such a blast. So probably going to do that, and then I'm going to see if there's a way to make Blitz Katsu work as well, because some of the new combo lines that he has access to, and just like the what is it, spinning wheel kick is like just such a good starter. It's just a good card on its own, and then it leads up to the roundhouse, which is like kind of a route in and of itself.
It's like a weird like multi-chain route that like I don't know. It's weird. You don't get to target the card. It's at random, but
yeah. So I don't know. It's like you can, off of a blue, you can pitch a blue to play the first thing, then the second thing.
Yeah.
And if you have a blue in hand, you can just discard that to get the thing off of a single blue. That's like a pretty solid turn. That's 9 damage, and you're getting rid of one of the cards that's blocking it at the very least. So it's going to help push through some additional damage. That's just really efficient.
I really think Cyclone Roundhouse is an annoying card. It's super annoying because you can't normal block this stupid thing unless you want to commit like a bunch of stuff to it. This is a card that I will probably personally will say no blocks to more than any other card on average, just because it's a 2 for 5. This is for the audio listeners. It's a 2 cost, 5 attack card of combo, and if Spinning Wheel Kick was the last attack combat chain, this has, at the beginning of the reaction step, banish a random defending card from each chain link. So every single chain link gets a card randomly banished. And what makes that particularly nasty is that it just says card and not like attack action card or whatever. It can banish equipment from the combat chain, which is kind of hilarious. So if for whatever reason you're like Kadachi, I don't know, any other random attack with like go again on it, and then you do the spinning wheel kick into Cyclone Roundhouse, and there's a big old chain, and they have like a random, maybe they blocked with their scab skin leathers on one of them and another thing, and you do this, you could hit that scab skin leathers and banish it, which is nasty. And I think that's like like the top end. The low end of this is you just like Bill said, spinning wheel kick, Cyclone Roundhouse, and then if they block with a single card onto Cyclone Roundhouse, it immediately gets banished. Like you can't one block this. Period. It will immediately banish a card. So if you're blocking this from hand, to full block this, you have to commit 3 cards to full block this from hand, which is gross. The best case as the defending player is that you pass blocks, go to reactions. This card triggers, banishes whatever else is before, and then you do a reaction. That's probably the best case scenario as the defending player. But this card's just it's going to be real annoying. Like I said, this is a card that I'm probably going to be like no blocks more than any other card in the game, I think.
It's really, really interesting. Specifically that it is like such an effective like basically like end game way to punish like no blocks or trying to punish efficient blocks, because it's a 2 card combo. If the first thing hits, which is a 4, which is a good break point, it allows you to tutor with Katsu for the other thing and play it off of just a 3 card hand. I mean, I say just a 3 card hand. It is still a 3 card hand, but I feel like ninjas are pretty good at getting themselves into a spot where then you just get so much tempo back if your opponent decides to full block it. Like you say, it takes so many cards to do that. And sometimes it's just you have to do this or you die. So really, really intrigued by that. And really excited to start playing it and seeing if it holds any water at all.
It's also a 2 cost, so you can pummel it. Just saying.
Yeah.
you can pummel this.
Okay.
As someone who's building Uzuri.
Tagline. That seems to be the tagline of this entire set. You can pummel it.
You can pummel this.
So like, I have a little bit of a mini rant on Uzuri, because I've seen a lot of people and they're like, they think like Command and Conquer is like the best card with the Uzuri, and I think it's like pretty good. But here's my hot take. I don't think Command and Conquer is even the 3rd best card in the Uzuri deck, and I don't think it's even that close. I think that You don't really like targeting their arsenal is like fine with Command and Conquer, but what you really want to do is you want to target their hand. And so the spicier cards are going to be her specialization, surgical extraction, and cards like Pummel, where you just basically you want to attack with isolate with the little which is what I'm calling like mini dominate. It has dominate, right? But once you do the Uzuri effect, they can still react to it. So you do isolate into any of your nasty 6 on hit effects, or 4 on hit effects in the case of surgical extraction and seek enlightenment, or is that what it's called? The one that's a 4 attack from Arcane Rising, and if it hits you, you have 1 more intellect.
Pursuit of
Pursuit of
knowledge.
knowledge.
Pursuit of knowledge, yeah. And so I think the real spice here is you threaten their hand. So like the goal for me for my Uzuri deck is I want to have my on hit effects rip stuff out of your hand, and I want them to be hard to block. And that's the goal. Every time I attack you, I want to steal stuff from your hand. I want to attack you with a stealth card and then either bring in Shakedown or Surgical Extraction or any of the other ones plus Pummel and just rip stuff out of your hand. If I'm like real greedy, I want to do both. I want to like shake down and then pummel it as well to take multiple cards out of your hand. That's my goal. Or if you're blocking a lot and you're like, oh no, he's coming in with a thing, better block a whole bunch. And then I want to spreading plague you and make you eat like four blood rot pox. So like that's the goal with my current Uzuri build is I want you to be punished for doing anything. If you don't block, you're going to get cards ripped out of your hand no matter what. And if you do block, I want to spreading plague you and then just make it hurt a lot. We were talking beforehand, and I don't know if this is going to be in the recording, but I was talking about how I think actually the worst part about the deck or building the deck is there's not a lot of like really good stealth cards. Isolate is good, and I think you run Rainbow Isolate. What is it? Infiltrate is also really good and is a must block. I think your opponent will always heavily block Infiltrate. So you can like Infiltrate if they heavily block it. This is a great target for spreading plague. And then I like Blue Infect. And outside of that, and just Blue Infect is just because it's like it's a 1 stealth. It blocks 3. It's a blue pitch, and if they take the 1, then they get a Blood Rot Pox, which is not nothing. And then outside of that, there's not very many good ones, which is why I think another one of the best cards in the deck, I'm going to try to scroll down and find it because it's in a weird spot, is 2 of the codexes. I think you run the Blood Rot Codex, and you run the other codex. Where is it? Frailty. Frailty is really good, because Frailty is the one that lets you put attack action cards from graveyard into your arsenal, and so this is a way to recur Isolate a whole bunch of times. So like you have all your isolates, but then you can recur the isolate, put it in your arsenal, attack with it, and then react with something from hand. So with a 2-card hand, with Codex of Frailty plus like Surgical Extraction, you could Codex of Frailty, put an isolate from your bin into your arsenal. Your opponent also does the same. They put a card from their bin into their arsenal, and then everyone. Well, you'd have to have another card in your hand because you have to discard a card with Codex of Frailty. But then you attack with the stealth card, and then you react, and then put in your Command and Conquer or whatever other nasty on hit effect is. And then Codex of Blood Red I think is just super nasty because it rips cards out of your opponent's hand. I think this card's actually like it might be one of the best cards in the set in my opinion. I think it's just so good. Like it's like an Intimidate almost, right? Because it literally takes a card out of your opponent's hand and forces it into their arsenal. Like they have to do it. It's not an option. And so like if it's your turn and you're the aggressor, right? You play this and then you arsenal a card. If you're assassin, you can arsenal, like a stealth card or whatever. If you're ranger, you just arsenal, an arrow. Hopefully one that has like go again. And then like your opponent has to arsenal a card. Now they have 1 less card to block with. And then also they get a Blood Red Pox. And you get a Ponder token. I think this card's like nuts. I legit think this might be one of the best cards in the set. Like it's nasty. So that's what I've been messing around with Uzuri. I think Death Touch is pretty sweet. Also with Uzuri. The on-hit effect is nice. It's a good old 6 attack. Worst part about the card is it's a 2 block.
It's got
And
range right though. Of course it is.
yeah, it's got the ranger.
Blame
the
Ranger
ranger
for
attack.
that.
I initially wanted to do no dagger shenanigans with Uzuri, but I actually think minimal dagger shenanigans might be the way to go. And by that I mean, I think you run flick knives with 2 targeted daggers, and then you also just run the concealed blade to get more back. And I think this because, and this is my spiel, and then I'll pass it off to Azz or Bill here. But flick knives says once per turn attack reaction, target dagger you control that isn't on the active chain link deals 1 damage to target hero. First of all, this damage can't be like blocked or anything. It can be prevented with stuff like Oasis Respite, but it can't be like blocked. So this is actually like great way to deal like guaranteed damage. If damaged is dealt this way, the dagger has hit, so it triggers the on-hit effect, destroy the dagger. So you can do that once per reaction. What's really nasty is this with the scalpel that has the on-hit effect of debuffing the next defense reaction, because you can do this in response to them playing a defense reaction, and because of the way timing works in Flesh and Blood, the defense reaction isn't actually considered to have been played until it actually like, is like resolved or whatever. So you can actually do it in response, and then it'll debuff it. Yeah. Let me see.
Yeah.
Let me pull up the scalpel real quick. Here's the scalpel. So the scalpel says, when it hits a hero, the next time they defend with 1 or more reaction cards this turn, those have -1 while defending. So I guess the right wording is that the reaction card isn't considered to have been defended until it's actually been resolved. Is the proper wording for that. So you can flick knives in response to them playing the reaction before it is resolved to give it like -1. So it's a legit thing you can do in Uzuri because you really want, like, the weakness is our reactions, right? Because you're going to be playing the isolate that has dominate, and then once you sneak the isolate to the bottom, they can still play reactions. And so having the flick knives and the scalpel is a great way to debuff the reaction that they're going to be doing. So I think that's the build. I think we're going to be running the flick knives and nerve scalpel in the loadout, and we'll probably have more nerve scalpels in the sideboard. You can have up to 3 in CC, like total, so you can be equipped with 1 and then have 2 in the sideboard. And then we are running the reaction that lets you re-equip daggers, which is target assassin or ninja attack action card gets +1, and if it hits, equip a dagger from your inventory. But it's also just a 0-cost blue that blocks for 3. So yeah, that all of that kind of stuff is in my current build, as well as some other spicy things that I will reveal in due time. But yeah.
What does it look like then? Does it look like you with like the lines that you play? Is it just like swing with a dagger and then come in with an attack, which is then a secret attack? You
can do that if it depends on how many cards you have in your hand, right? But I think you can have a really good just 2-card hand where you just go isolate, which is the one with dominate. Doesn't matter what color it is. So you do isolate, and then you wait to see what they do, right? It has dominate, so they can only block with 1 card from hand. If they're gonna block with like a bunch of cards, hopefully you'll have you'll hopefully have spreading plague to get them and to give them a lot of blood rot poxes. But so say like on a normal case where they like block with a single card, and then you what you do is you react with Uzuri, and then you put your other card into play as the attacking card. Either, there's a bunch of them in the deck that I think are really good, like Shakedown, Surgical Extraction, Command and Conquer, just a bunch of them with really nasty on-hit effects. And then if they want to do a defense reaction after that, you can then do your flick knives to flick your scalpel at them to hit them for 1 and then debuff the reaction. And then hopefully you also have like some other form of reaction. The deck is pretty reaction heavy. I run a bunch of shreds. I run a bunch of pummels. I run the one that I just talked about that lets you get daggers back, Concealed Blade, which is really good in this situation because if they blocked with the 3 block and then they tried to do like a sink below, right? And then you flick them with the dagger, it'll debuff the sink below to 3 block, and so they're going to be blocking for 6. And if you're attacking for 6, like say with Shakedown, you can give it +1 with Concealed Blade to make it to 7, so it'll actually hit. Then it'll hit. You'll get the on-hit effect from Shakedown, and then you also get the on-hit effect from Concealed Blade, and you can get a dagger to replace the dagger that you just played. Yeah, so I think there's some cool tricky stuff. I'm still like brewing it. I don't think Uzuri is broken like some people think, and I don't think Uzuri is unplayable like some people think. I honestly think she's probably gonna end up being like somewhere in the middle-ish, maybe like Dorinthia level, playable. She's gonna be operating a lot of the same space, right? Like present a sort of weak-looking
Well, it's
attack,
mind games.
and then
Yeah,
react
it's
a
mind
bunch.
games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
That scalpel definitely work in that way then as well, does it? Like they play a sink below, and then before that resolves, you then use your flick knives to then chuck the nerve scalpel, and then because it says when this hits, the next time they defend. So haven't they already defended at that point then, or not?
no,
Bit of
because
strange.
No, because the reaction hasn't resolved yet.
Okay.
It isn't considered defending until it has resolved.
Is that true? Because I think they changed things recently. I think that was part of the change so that you couldn't stack flick flacks anymore. I think they're considered defending immediately now.
We can ask Joshua Scott about it. But I was listening to the Manor podcast with with Michael Hamilton, and they were saying it was true. So
because that'd be sweet if it does work like that.
I'm pretty sure it only works against reactions, right? Obviously, it doesn't work against just actual defending cards. But I think it works because
if so, that's sweet. I'm into that.
you have to do it in response to them playing it, not in response to like their effect trigger or whatever, right? So they play Sink Below, and then you have a chance to respond to Sink Below before Sink Below has been like, before its effect is like on the chain, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the window where you do it, because so we can get judge confirmation when we have Joshua Scott on the podcast, which he will be on the podcast in the next couple of weeks. We can have him talk about that, but that's what I have heard. That's what I have heard. Yeah.
Nice.
Oh yeah.
So that's that. And like I said, I think Uzuri is first of all, I think she's going to be an incredibly fun hero, but I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And like I said, most of the cards that I'm playing that I think are good are the ones that rip cards out of your hand. Like Command and Conquer's fine, like threatening their arsenal, sure, that's fine. The can't play defense reactions part of that is like also like fine. But I think the real spice and what you really want to do with this deck is play the cards that rip stuff out of your opponent's hand. It's going to end up being more of like a discard deck and you have a decent amount, like I said. I'm running 6 pummels. I'm running shakedowns, surgical extractions. And one of the best parts about this deck is, unlike something like Dorinthia, where you can run into the situation where, or maybe even like a Azalea or Ranger. I think it's closer for Azalea or Ranger, where like you run into a situation where you have only pumps and no arrows. For this, as long as you have at least one of your attacks, you're good, because the stuff that you're reacting in, like your Command and Conquers and whatever, you can still just play them. Like you can just play it. So yeah. So that's my current spiel on Uzuri. I have a list that I like. I am running some other cards in this set, like Amnesia. Is that the one? The 6 attack, 3 block one? Yeah, Amnesia. I am running Amnesia. I don't know how good it is, but it blocks for 3, attacks for 6. I'm also running like Erase Face, and the ones that you would think. There's a good number, and I heard people talk about like how Assassin's worst matchup is Dromai. My list runs like a ton of 6 attacks now, like actually a lot. So I don't think Dromai is going to be that hard to deal with. It's not like I'm running like 9 poppers. I'm running like we're talking like 15 or more, like a lot.
Bloody hell.
So yeah. And yeah. So what are you guys? What about you guys? What are you excited for? Because obviously I'm excited for that. I'm excited for more cards, but I want to let you guys talk. So go ahead.
Go on, Bill.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm just genuinely excited again to try out some of these new decks. Specifically, like I was saying, I'm actually right now sort of just throwing decks together on Fabrary while we're talking. Because
Speaking of which, as well, something we didn't mention in Week in Flesh and Blood because I was too busy being absolutely down in the dumps was the fact that both of you on here have been on the Azalea Ringer thing. So you probably can come to expect more of these builds being showcased on there as well. So expect to see a lot of like CC decks being showcased on there. Because I want to put Azalea through the ringer against all sorts of different matchups, and that was good fun as well, having you both on there. So if you want to go and see some of these decks as they get built and played, then go and have a look at that. I just thought I'd interject there quickly with that. I forgot to mention that.
Oh, that's awesome. And I'm already looking forward to being on next week when
Briar.
we'll be playing Briar.
Oh no, Azz.
Yeah, that one will be interesting.
Well,
I haven't really played a ton of Briar, but from everything that I've heard, it's pretty easy. So.
Yeah.
I feel bad for you, Azz. I just played against him as Viserai, and the Viserai list that I played is pretty nasty. So if people want to go watch that back, you can see some nasty like 26 damage turns.
Yeah. That was vile.
Yeah, it was a little gross. So now you have to see the same thing, but from Briar instead.
Yay.
Yeah.
Less rune chance. Less rune chance, but still as much BS.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I'm just putting together some spec lists right now. I want specifically Blitz versions of, Benji, like updated Tiger Benji with some new toys. I put together like a pretty redliner Arachne list, the solitary confinement, because I do want to see if that's something that can work. In my mind, I think it might, just because it's just most of the things you play, like all of the stealth cards are zeros. So if you can just continuously come in with at least 2 or 3 attacks a turn, and everything just costs nothing, then it could be interesting. So I put together that as well. And then now I'm just thinking about what I could do for a Katsu Blitz deck, to see if that is also a thing. I think right now I have too many different combo lines that I want to do, because the thing that really appeals to me with Katsu specifically is the toolbox that you're able to just search for a specific combo at any one time. And I think that with CC, you just have more time and more space within your deck to add these cards.
Yeah.
So it may not work quite as well.
I think two combo chains is like max for Blitz. I feel like.
Yeah, I feel like we could probably do like Surging Strike. Honestly, it could probably just be Lord of Wind and Dishonor, because there's, I think, a lot of overlap between those two. That would make it relatively low to the ground. As much as I want to play Spinning Wheel Kick because it's so efficient, I just think there's maybe not enough space within the deck to do all of those things. In CC, I think for sure you can.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then I have like a Tiger Benji list that I think is going to be pretty interesting. Yeah, I'm just so excited for all of these decks. Really excited for CC Katsu, like I said. I'm also, of course, going to be putting together an Azalea deck, because why wouldn't I?
Why wouldn't I? Yeah.
Are you going to do Azalea Blitz or CC though?
I'll probably do CC. I really do want to do Blitz though, because I just play mostly Blitz personally. And I think a lot of people already know about that part of me that prefers to play Blitz, even though it's not like the competitively important format. It's the format that allows me to do like kind of dumb stuff. Like again, the deck that I appreciate the most, my Prism deck.
Yeah.
I just can't be played in CC. And it would have been interesting to be able to try it in CC, but I didn't come up with the idea until after she got banned.
Oh yeah.
In CC after
Yeah.
she got Living Legended. So
Maybe you can do it in From Dusk Till Dawn. Maybe you'll be able to do that in
yeah,
CC. Yeah.
yeah. If they all they need to do is just print another Light Illusionist. Doesn't even need to be Prism. I don't actually use. Well, I mean, I do have the Prism specialization, just the Herald of Erudition. I just run those because it's a good card.
It is. Yeah.
But it isn't an important part of the deck. It can run without it. So if they do print another Light Illusionist, it doesn't even need to have any hero text. It just can be a blank card, and that'll work just
love
fine.
and life. Yeah.
Yeah. For Azalea, I very much
It
want to
won't,
build
because
Blitz
Luminaris is gone
OTK.
too.
Mm.
Luminaris is gone because of Prism.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's true. Luminaris is gone too. I keep forgetting that like it's not just unplayable because Prism is gone. It's like actually gone because it's been Living Legend. And that's really interesting actually.
Yeah,
Hmm.
that's unfortunate for me.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll be able to get some just for fun spec games in. Or I'll just have to wait for the Living Legends format and play just the worst version of Prism possible.
Oh, and you're playing against like
Brilliant.
Starvo and Chain. It's like,
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh yeah. This deck hard loses to Guardian anyway, let alone
Yeah.
Starvo. So
Yeah. Oh, that's gonna be rough. And
God.
like I just put up a card that I want to play in what I want to try to do is OTK Azalea. The card I put up is Toxicity Red, I
yeah.
basically just want to
Mhm.
toxicity dominate arrow you, and make you
Yeah.
lose like 10 life plus whatever on hit effect I have.
God, yeah. I mean that card as well. Like later on in the game as well, both in both Blitz and CC later on in the game, is just so bad. Like you get one damage through, you're forcing through what 5? Is it 5 life loss?
Five-
On one of them.
Yeah, 5 additional. So even if you hit for 1, it's actually for 6.
Yeah.
For red.
That's
Like,
mad.
that's so much damage.
The blue one is still like 3. Like
Yeah.
it's like it's a 0 for 3 if it hits. That also pitches, which is awesome.
Mm.
Yeah.
Like that's one of the things. Again, I think one of the strongest things in this set, just on spec for me, is basically everything that makes a Bloodrot Pox token. I don't know if I'm overvaluing them right now, but it just feels like Bloodrot Pox just puts a burner on the game. It takes a total of 10 Bloodrot Poxes if your opponent doesn't pay for them, but also if they're paying for them, you're laughing. Like, this is so much value for you if they're paying for it. So it's definitely a good for you either way sort of thing. They're either losing card advantage by not taking the damage or taking the damage and lowering that clock. So in Blitz specifically, of course, is what I'm referring to. It takes 10 of them to kill your opponent if you do no other damage. And every time you deal damage to your opponent, that counter gets knocked down. So I feel like there are just it just puts so much of a clock on the game, which is great. And is one of the reasons I think this solitary confinement list probably has legs, because we just play Rainbow of Infect, the attack that makes a Bloodrot Pox. We also have the attack reaction that makes a Bloodrot Pox on hit.
Notably, not Rainbow, only comes in red.
That one only comes in red, which is like honestly kind of unfortunate for our purposes here. But yeah, that's one of the main things I'm really excited about is just Bloodrot Pox. I think that it's really cool. And again, kind of like what I was saying, one of the things I genuinely do appreciate is that Vambraces of Determination just isn't like an auto include broken generic arm piece. Like they've shown a propensity to do that with generic legendary, like just equipment in general. We have Crown of Providence, we have Tunic, we have Arcanite Skullcap previous to Crown of Providence. And most of these just sort of brought the barrier of entry for so many decks up to like this card is like good enough that it will make your deck run, and it's a generic. So I don't think the Embraces of Determination is bad. It is very solidly a sideboard card for specific purposes, but in those purposes, I think it's actually quite good.
Yeah, there's one interesting thing about it that I initially saw it as like a really big downside when I was doing my like little spoiler evaluation, and that's its second ability, where for by the way for the listeners out there who don't have visual, the Embraces of Determination is a legendary, has a once per turn attack reaction for a resource. The next prevention effect that prevents physical damage this turn prevents one less of that damage, and then it also has. When this defends, you may pay 1. If you do, it gains +1 defense and blade break, and it has natural 0 defense. And so I saw that, and I was like, oh, it's like a way worse like Ironhide that also has kind of like a sort of like a evasion E kind of ability. But then I was like, you know what? This is actually kind of good against cards that force you to block and blow up your blade break stuff. Like magnetic shockwave. All that kind of stuff that like forces you to block. T-bone or whatever. You don't have to. You can block with this, and you don't have to pay the 1. Like, I mean, sure.
It's one of those cards that make nice. It's one of those cards that make Widowmaker not great. It's that arrow that says if it's defended by. Because you can just block with 0, equipment that don't blow up, and it just gets a debuff straight away. It's one of those utilities as well, isn't it?
It is, for sure. That is the weakness of Widowmaker. I still really like Widowmaker, by the way. But in Lexi, maybe not in or maybe not in a Riptide or Azalea. I like it in Lexi because it's not the only arrow you're shooting. It actually might be good in Riptide too if you're doing Aggro Riptide. Because in Lexi, this is probably like the 3rd arrow I'm shooting, and by the time I'm shooting this off, hopefully you've already used up all your crap. And
you've already blocked everything.
Yeah, I guess. It's still coming in for like, 8 because it'll be like 4 + 3 + 1 from my bow.
If it's just more of like a pressure ranger, I guess, which is what you do, isn't it? You spew out all of your stuff. Then this is a good way to end that sort of chain, I guess. Yeah, because it's better in that sort of deck. Because
the other arrows that I'm shooting off are going to be ones that people are going to block out. Like it's going to be like Remorseless. They want to block out. They probably want to block my Bolton shots to not give me the free reload. They probably want to block my
endless arrows.
And then the last one I play is going to be the Widowmaker, and they're going to be like, oh crap, it's coming in for 8, or 10 if you're doing it on a Rainrazor's turn, because it'll be 7 + 1 from the bow + 2 from the thing. So, and it still has the defense reactions can't be played. So I'm going to be playing with this in my No Fuse Lexi deck and trying it out. I think it definitely runs into the situation where if they have two pieces of equipment that are the 0 block things, if they have 2 of those, it can be easily prevented, or at least the +3 can be prevented. But I mean, like, they have to have 2 of them. They have to not have broken them, right?
Yeah.
So like, I don't know. I think it's actually not insane, but I don't think it's like terrible either. In Azalea, it's probably not great though.
Where is the card that says you can't use equipment to block? Where is that card? Come on, we need that card.
I mean,
where is that ranger action that says you get a buff and they can't use the equipment to defend? Come on, Brian. Where is it?
Piercing?
Piercing. That's true.
Piercing is more of a suggestion, though.
Yeah, piercing's just like if you block, I'm gonna get a little bit stronger.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
as
I guess we're on the Ranger train now, aren't we? Because that was a massive part of the weekend. Was the amount of support that Rangers got. Obviously, Riptide was obviously a big part of that as well. The new hero.
Yeah.
I think we touched on it, didn't we? Did we touch on Riptide earlier in passing? But
yeah.
So many sick Ranger cards came out as well. I was lucky enough to spoil the Legendary Quiver this time round, which was cool. I don't really know. Obviously, Yeah, there's loads of quivers that you can use now, which is nice. And I do like. Obviously, I'm not a meta head, so I don't know when this would be used and why and stuff. I mean, and the whole sort of me and Jim beat 30 Oldims in a row skit was was not speaking from meta experience. It was just a bit of a funny comedy show. So people that are saying, Azz, I want to see your fatigue list against Oldim. That's not. I don't have that list for you, I'm afraid. I was just messing.
Yeah.
I was just trolling.
Just being a silly little guy.
Just being a silly British man.
I'm very curious. So I know you said you haven't read a lot of the cards, but there are a couple Ranger cards that are very spicy that I would like your opinion on. So have you read Barbed Undertow? I think we might have talked about it.
Ooh.
Oh yeah.
Barbed Undertow is like the reason to play aim counters, I think.
It's like the only reason other than Deadeye. Like I was looking at all of the other aim counter stuff, and I'm like, these are all kind of like mid. They'll like give like +1 or something, and I'm like, I don't care. Like if I'm playing Lexi or I'm playing Dreadboard, they're gonna get +1 anyway. Like like why do I care about the +1? But Barbed Undertow is nasty, man.
Yeah, and that's it's horrible. It's essentially like a Red and Ledger type effect against the matchups which we were losing against, like Bravo, for instance, like Guardian. You choose blue with this, they are in the shit after that. Essentially, you know, they can't pitch or do anything. They can't swing if they've got a 1-card hand. They can't pitch that blue to Unothos for 4. They can't do anything. You know. And that's one of those cards that we were missing was, you know, some tech against those sort of things, those resource-intensive decks.
So, Barbed Undertow for audio listeners, it's a 1 for 5.
Oh, sorry, yeah, carry on.
It's a 1 for 5 arrow, blocks for 3, but it says if it has an aim counter, it gains when it hits a hero. Choose red, yellow, or blue until the start of your next turn. They can't pitch cards of the chosen color. There was another card that has a similar effect in Flesh and Blood. I don't remember what it is. There's another card that it's one of the it's also a Ranger card. Is it Frostlock? I think it's Frostlock. Yeah, I think it's Frostlock also limits like pitch.
What a card.
I think it makes it so they can't pitch 0-cost cards or something
That's
like
it.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's an interesting design space for Ranger, making it so they can't pitch stuff. And then, of course, Deadeye is the buff. It's like the 1 cost. Is it a +4 buff or +3 buff? +3. But the on hit is if it has an aim counter, you get a look at their hand and they have to discard a card.
Discard.
Which is what Uzuri wants to do. So like, yeah, I think Barbed Undertow is like the reason to play. Also Deadeye, but like other than that,
Deadeye. And another thing that a lot of people were looking at was the quiver, which obviously is an Azalea specialization, the Crow's Nest, which essentially allows you to put aim counters onto the things that matter, even if you're not using Sandscar Greatbow, which is the thing that inherently puts the aim counters on it. Because a lot of people want to still use Death Dealer. They want to still use the card, the bow that draws the card, because Sandscar is a little bit more. A bit strange to you, a bit more alien to use to people that are used to playing Azalea, and people that are playing Azalea like Levi, Roush, and what have you swear by Death Dealer. And it's interesting as well because it's an interesting question for you guys and obviously the audience. Does Crow's Nest make Sandscour Greatbow obsolete? Is there still a build where you would use Sandscar Greatbow instead? Because essentially it's exactly the same effect, but you have to pay for it on Crow's Nest, but you can use any other bow, whereas Sandscour just gives it to you.
I think it depends on the other quiver options. So like if like we find that Quiver of Rustling Leaves, or if you really, really have to run Abyssal Depths, I think if it's that situation, then you still need aim counters, then you would run Sandscour. The fact that they printed quivers means it's now a thing, right? So that means every time that Ranger is in a set, we could get another quiver, and so you could always have that option of being like, okay, do I want to run the new awesome quiver, and do I need aim counters? And if the answer is like yes on those, then you'll probably consider running the Sandscour. So I don't think it's obsolete. I think it's just a different path to take. It might not be the best path right now, but I think it still is a path that's available, which I think is
That's a good thing, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Giving Ranger more options and more things that they can essentially start with in play at the start. Quivers is a design space that allows you to come into the match with a certain advantage to a certain degree straight away. If you want to recur arrows, you play of the Abyssal Depths if it's going to be a longer game, or if you want to try and leverage the Death Dealer, draw a card and still get aim counters on your stuff because you've got a lot of aim counter matters, you can run the Crow's Nest and Rustling Leaves. I don't really know when you would use that. That's more of a Lexi thing, maybe.
Yeah. So
have you tried that out?
So for Crow's Nest, just for everyone listening, it is an Azalea specialization, so only Azalea can run the Crow's Nest. So everything that I said only applies to Azalea. If you want to do aim counters for Riptide or Lexi, you have to do something else. You have to either do Sand Scour or Barbed Castaway. So Crow's Nest only works for Azalea, and what it does, by the way, for the audio listeners, it's just whenever an arrow is put face up into your arsenal from your deck, you can pay 1. If you do, you put an aim counter on it. So it's basically when you activate Azalea, right? Then you can do it. Quiver of Rustling Leaves, I think, is basically the only choice for Lexi. Like unless you really think you're gonna need the if you're gonna fatigue and you really need the extra arrows for Quiver of Abyssal Depths, I think you're just gonna be running Rustling Leaves to help your 3 of a kind turns. Like exactly what we talked about like 2 or 3 episodes ago. I think honestly, I think it's the clear choice, and I'm going to be running it in my Lexi deck. In my current Lexi Blitz deck, I do have Abyssal Depths in my sideboard, just in case, because you might need it if someone's trying to fatigue you out, because you're drawing a lot of cards. You are drawing a lot of cards in that deck, so it is a thing. I do want to ask you another question about a not Ranger card, but it does have your favorite lady on it. What do you think of Premeditate?
I know what this is.
What do you guys think of Premeditate?
I really like Premeditate. I think that people calling it Ponder Run is, first of all, very funny.
Yeah.
And second of all, I just think that it's a strong card. I think that it is probably as far as I would like to see the specific templating that they were using for Plunder Run. The next attack that hits this turn, you get this effect. I think that Ponder is just about as close to draw a card as I would feel comfortable seeing on a card that, and also it helps that it's a Majestic, so you don't just get to play it in a 9 of or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think that Ponders are really strong, honestly. And the fact that we have access to them really, really frequently with obviously Ponder Run and each of the new codices. Each of them makes you a Ponder token. So just always having access to an arsenal card, especially within Azalea, I think is really good. I think that Premeditate specifically in Ranger is very strong. And yeah, I think it's an extremely well designed card. And I think it's going to make a lot of waves. I think most people are probably going to jam it as a 3 of.
Yeah, so it's a generic card. It's a 0 cost, go again, 2 block generic card. And it says the next time an attack action card hits a hero this turn, create a Ponder token. And then the next attack action card you play from Arsenal this turn gains +3. So it actually kind of has a reverse effect kind of thing. Yeah, because you have to play the attack action card from Arsenal instead of playing the Premeditate from Arsenal, as opposed to Plunder Run, where you have to play the Plunder Run from the Arsenal. I think
Rangers don't care about this, do they? Because they play things from their Arsenal all the time.
Yeah.
So what I love about it is obviously it's it's a 0 cost as well, as you said. So that's the same as like Take Aim, same as like Release Attention. It's your +3 for nothing.
Yep.
On any action card, but obviously it's mainly going to be arrows in Ranger. What I also like about it is that in older decks I used to run obviously Endless Arrow and Snatch, because obviously when they hit they replace themselves essentially because they go back to your hand or you draw a card, and it's similar to this as well. all of your attacks, all of your arrows will essentially draw you a card to put into your arsenal at the end of your turn, which is one of those effects that I like because it's threatening the on-hit card advantage or 5-card draw-up situation because you arsenal the card from the ponder and then draw up to 4, which makes your next turn better. Yeah, I think it's absolutely epic, this card. And the art is just like awesome. And I'm not sure whether people have seen the Twitter post and the Facebook post as well of me editing Azalea sat down at having a McDonald's because it looks like she's holding a burger in this.
She's holding, for the people listening, she's holding like some sort of like binoculars or something.
I also, the way that the art is framed, it almost looks like, and I say framed and art, and it's kind of funny. It does look like she's like a portrait, like she's just like something that's hanging up on a wall. I know that she's in like a crow's nest or something similar, looking down on something else, but it looks like she's just a framed piece of art that's hanging up somewhere.
What the art looks like to me is it looks like it's Azalea, Lena Bell, and then like some dude with like a bandana in the background, and it looks like they're sitting at like an Asian food cart or like in an Asian food cart, like a ramen stand or something like that you'd find on the streets in like Japan, because like the banners in the background have like almost like kanji or something. I don't know. It's like, I'm not sure what language it is, but it definitely looks like Japanese or something.
Like characters, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I don't know if it's actually Japanese, but it looks like Japanese, if I had to guess. So it's just really, that's what I saw. I'm just like, yeah, they're just chilling in like a like a food cart or something. Yeah.
But this is definitely I've just put it in our separate group chat just in case nobody's seen it, just so you know what I was talking about there. But I thought it was quite a funny little edit that I did. But the art on this card is probably my favourite in the whole set.
Yeah, no,
I just absolutely love it. Absolutely love it.
It is very good. You know what? I can probably hold on. So for the people watching out there, I'm just gonna go. You're gonna see me go to like Twitter real quick on this little tiny sidebar, and we're gonna go. You said you tweeted it, right, Az?
Yeah, well, I've just sent it in our Discord, Living Legends. If you can get that up at the same time, but I won't mess up the OBS.
I can't. Yeah, I can't do it the way I have it set up. But what I can do is I can pull up anything on.
Yeah, it was a fairly recent tweet by me at Go Again Gaming AZ. And shout out to the artist as well. Before we show this absolute ridiculous rendition of Azalea sat in McDonald's, I have to shout out the artist beforehand, which is Izuardi Therianto.
Ooh.
Sorry if I've mispronounced your name there, but
artist.
yeah, great stuff. Yeah, great stuff.
So I have your Twitter pulled up now. I'm just scrolling through your Twitter. Oh, there we go. There we go. I'm not going to say the words out loud, just in case. But there you go. She's saying, "F off, let me eat my GD Big Mac." And then she's pounding that Big Mac. She's pounded it. Yeah. I actually showed this tweet to my partner, Robin. Yeah.
But yeah, I thought it was pretty funny. It's just the way she's like scowling as well at you. It's just like, oh, go away! I'm trying to do something, you know.
It's pretty good. I love how it's McDonald's too.
Yeah. Brilliant. But yeah, absolutely awesome card. Absolutely love it. It's definitely going to be jammed.
Yeah, I actually think Ponder in general, like you guys are saying, is really good. I think in my Lexi deck, it is absolutely cracked because you'll ponder, you'll draw the card, and then on your turn you'll use Lexi to turn the card that you pondered face down. You turn it face up, and you'll have an extra slot with your New Horizons. And so you can either get advantage if the card that you put face down is ice or lightning or whatever. But either way, like you can always just sandbag it because you'll have the extra arsenal slot. I think Premeditate's like really good. I took out lightning presses. I took out my lightning presses for Premeditate because it's just kind of like you lose the surprise factor, but you gain the card advantage, which I think is like better. So I like it. This card's good.
Another arrow I just wanted to point out. Obviously, there's a few cool little
Yeah,
things, ranger stuff. Amplifying arrow was quite an interesting one.
Yeah.
That is another one that I put in my deck, my Lexi deck.
Yes, this is a zero cost yellow arrow. So pitches for 2, blocks for 3, and attacks for 2. And it says, while amplifying arrows face up in any zone, because obviously that works with Lexi as well. If it would gain power, it instead gains that much +1.
Yeah.
So all of your buffs, if you play a take aim, a red take aim,
It gets +4.
if it would give you it would give it +4. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's +1.
So like Rain Razors would give it +3. So like with just
Yeah.
this and Rain Razors, it's a 0 for 5.
All right, so
with just Rain Razors, yeah.
So if amplifying arrows face up in your arsenal, then it just basically says it's not giving +1 to amplifying arrow. It's giving +1 to just the effect, right?
So it's it says if it would gain power, instead it gains that much +1, and it is referring to amplifying arrow. So so anytime amplifying arrow would gain power and it's face up, it instead gains that much power +1. So
and then things like take aim, say the next ranger attack you play, so that would then come into effect when you play this. Then.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah. As soon as it puts itself onto, or as soon as you put it, I suppose, onto the chain, that's when that buff starts to take effect, and is gaining the power from the buff. So then its own effect looks at it and says, okay, we're gaining a buff, but it's actually that much +1.
Yeah.
So what would happen if you loaded in an amplifying arrow with dread ball? Would it get +2 then?
Yeah. Yep.
It would.
As long as you if there's a very specific there's a new buff from the last set, I think. Obviously new is subjective in this case, but I think it's target face up arrow in your arsenal gets a buff. That one wouldn't work obviously if it's face down for 2 reasons, obviously, because I think it does specify like face up arrow or face up card or whatever, so it wouldn't get that. And then also, even if it didn't specify like face down, you wouldn't be able to, because it wasn't face up at the time that it's trying to apply the buff. Basically every buff in the game works with amplifying arrow, the way that they've templated it.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is an auto include in my No Fuse Lexi deck. This is an absolute slam dunk because at the base level, if this is the last arrow I shoot off, it's a 0 for 4. I just give it +2 with my bow. Like I just choose +1 on Voltaire and it turns it into +2. So it's a 0 for 4 yellow. But like so for example, if all I'm doing is shooting this off plus a Rain Razors, it's gonna get +5. 3 from Rain Razors, 2 from the bow. So with just Rain Razors, this is a 0 for 7. Because it'll get +3 from Rain Razors and +2 from the bow. So 0 for 7, pretty good. And then you amplify that. So if it's a Rain Razors and an Ardawar turn, so that'll get another +2 from Ardawar. So it'd be like a 0 for 9 with Ardawar. Like this card's like pretty good. Like, at least for my Lexi deck. I'm not sure about Azalea, because Azalea cares about like specifically targeted pumps, whereas like for my Lexi, I just want these wide pumps, and this just makes all of my wide pumps just like slightly better.
Slightly more effective.
That's what I was trying to get my head around, was the fact if whether you would be able to do like 2 take aims and then this to give it +8.
Yeah, for sure. Yep, that works.
You would. Just the nice thing too, in terms of just breakpoint math, amplifying arrow is really good with Rain Razors and Lightning Press, because that gives it +4, which is quite nice. Specifically the reds for both of those, obviously, but
like Lightning Press will give it +4 to turn this into a 6, so it's like a smacks on for 6.
Well, and if you've already put it in with Voltaire, like you're saying, it will make it 8.
I think this card
good for 1 resource.
And then like if you whatever reason can't play it or whatever, it's a yellow too, so you can like pitch it really well. So you could pitch it, activate your bow, and then fire off another one drop arrow. This is like Yeah, this was a no-brainer include in my Lexi deck. This set has a lot of sweet stuff for Lexi. It's something that
Yeah.
Yuki Lee Bender also mentioned on like Twitter last night, and I responded and I'm like, yeah, there's so much good stuff in this set. Like Lexi was already pretty good, and I think Lexi's gonna get like much better. There's some good stuff in here. Amplifying Arrow is sweet. The one that I'm actually very curious on, I don't know if it's good or not, is the one with Go Again. Where is
Oh
it?
yeah, Falcon Shot or whatever it is.
Falcon Wing, yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Falcon
a
Wing.
0 cost arrow, attacks for 3, blocks for 3. If it has an aim counter, it gets +1, which I'm Lexi, I probably don't care about that. But it just has natural Go Again, like unconditional Go Again. So it's like a 0 for 3 with unconditional Go Again. If you're playing Lexi, it's a 0 for 4 Go Again, period. Because you just choose +1 on your bow instead of Go Again. So this is literally like a, whatever you want to call it, like a Scar for Scar or something. And Lexi, I'm not sure if it's good enough though, because it's just a 0 for 4. Well, technically a 0 for 3, but once again, like I said, you give it +1 with your bow. And what we're doing is we're doing better stuff. Like we're doing Bolt and Shot, which is just like better.
Roger.
And we're doing like Rain Razors and Endless Arrow and like the other. So what in my opinion, what this would replace in my deck is probably like Drill Shot, and I think Drill Shot's still better, which is a 0 for 4 that threatens the -1 counter on a piece of equipment. There's another card that I don't know if it's good, but I was joking in our chat that I was like, Az, you better not blow up my daggers. It's melting
Point.
melting point, which
Yeah.
I think you will probably run it because like as Azalea, aren't you running Deadeye because it's like a plus that also blocks for 3, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, it's a buff that blocks for 3, and it's obviously a yellow which fuels your Death Dealer with 1 floating, essentially.
Yeah.
So you won't get the 1 floating with this, unfortunately, but still +4 is pretty.
It is still, yeah.
When it matters, it's better than Deadeye because it's massive. Well, one extra.
Yeah, it's a 1 cost action with Go Again, blocks 3, which is really important. Your next arrow attack this turn gains +4, and if it has an aim counter, it gains when this hits a hero, destroy a one-handed weapon they control with base attack 1, which is basically like blow up target ninja or assassin weapon. I guess not the needles, but yeah, just don't blow up my daggers, okay?
Don't blow them up, damn it.
They're just doing their best, all right. They're trying to putt along. They cost 2 for me to attack. Just let them be, all right.
That's one of the things I'm disappointed about with this set, and I think it's something they're going to be addressing like later on. They're going to add more ways to make this specific type of gameplay work, but the fact that there's only 1 card in this set that lets you reload daggers, and you can't just do like a knife juggler sort of like throw all of my daggers at you and that's my game plan. That like kind of upsets me because I really want to do that.
I was seeing they have so many like knife throwing cards and only 1 card to get them back. Like,
yeah,
I was really expecting like a piece of equipment, maybe even like common. Like, let me pull up Blade Cuff. I was thinking something like Blade Cuff would be, instead of what it does is action 2 resources, destroy Blade Cuff, your daggers get +1 this turn, Go Again. I thought it would have something like this, but like action, whatever resources, destroy it, equip a dagger, right? Like, yeah. I thought we'd have something like that, but instead we have only Concealed Blade, which is good. Like, I actually really like Concealed Blade, but it's the only one. I was so surprised that it was the only one. And like, how many dagger throwing things do we have? We have Flick Knives that throws daggers. We have Hurl that throws daggers. And then we have a bunch of stuff that like pump dagger attacks. So there's like Plunge, which is a card that we haven't really talked about. It's like a 1 for 3 with Go Again. And when it hits, your next dagger attack gains +1. We have a really sweet attack reaction called Knives Out, which is a 0 cost ninja assassin attack reaction, blocks for 3, and just says your daggers gain +1 this turn. There's Bleed Out that we talked about that costs X less for each dagger that has dealt damage on the combat chain. So if you hit with 2 daggers, it's
always a 0 cost, isn't it? Most of the time.
Yeah, it's a 0 for 4 go again. There's the finisher, stab wound, which deals extra damage for each time a dagger is hit. But like, there's only one card to re-equip your daggers, so it's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little sad. It's a little sad. I want more ways to equip my daggers.
Just
Also,
feels like more of a last ditch resort, isn't it, to try and get those last bits of damage through by throwing your daggers at people rather than an actual strategy. Perhaps.
I think I think it's probably best the dagger throwing part's probably best in Assassin, where the daggers actually have like on hit effects, and you leverage the on hit effects to your advantage. Whereas I think
But in sealed and limited, it's nice that you still have that option as both classes as well.
Yeah.
If you get it in your pool, you can still use it potentially.
I mean, like I honestly think stuff like bleed out, knives out, stab wound. I think all this stuff is better in ninja, where you're just hitting them with kadachis. Like you're just kadachi, and then like other things. Yeah. It's a weird archetype. And when I was building Uzuri, I was like, I don't think I want to mess around with the daggers at all. And then I was like playing around, like I mentioned earlier, with flick knives, and the scalpel, and all that kind of stuff. Assuming it works, like I think it does. If it doesn't work, then I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Because you can't throw the dagger that you're attacking with, which is a little unfortunate. But, yeah, it's a cool design space, and I'm really interested to play it in limited, which comes around to the overall sentiment in this set. Like, what do you guys think about limited? Just your general impressions, because obviously we haven't played limited yet.
Yeah, I think that solitary confinement is going to be surprisingly strong in limited, because like we were saying, even though their attacks aren't like very specifically aren't just Scarfera scars, like we still have access to Ravenous Rabble, and just making things really efficient and attacking consistently for 10, I think is going to be a pretty central strategy. And it feels like it will be, I don't know, it's probably going to be easier to do that than to play Uzuri, just because having that density of stealth attacks and payoffs is going to be probably a little bit more difficult in draft. It's not impossible for sure, but I feel like if you're playing Assassin, and I'm not a very good limited player, so I could be super wrong, but that's just my first impression, is having access to consistent go again on your first attack essentially every turn will not be irrelevant. I think it'll be a decent amount of pressure.
Yeah. I love limited, and I'm generally pretty good at it. I normally get to like the finals of like the pre-releases and stuff, but I think Uzuri. I think you play Uzuri if you get really, really nice payoffs, and that's it, basically. Otherwise, you're probably just going to be playing Arachne, because I think Arachne is just generally better in limited, like you said. Because like just getting the go again on any of your attacks is just really good, and none of the stealth attacks have go again on them. So just having that is really good. And Uzuri, like I said, you're gonna need some good payoffs to make her worth it. Because if all your attacks are like zero cost 3 attacks, like her ability is gonna be not great. But there are some 6 attacks, but
That's what I mean. If you're drawing the payoffs in the draft or the sealed, whatever, if you're drawing those, at least you know that when the packs come back round to you, you can still get maybe the yellows and the blue and yellow stealths, because you can still use those to trick in the cards that you got earlier in the round. Essentially.
So I think one of the premium cards for Uzuri in limited, and especially in like draft, is Death Touch, because Death Touch is a 6 attack card, just a great payoff, and it's just a rare. So if you can draft like a bunch of Death Touch, even the other color ones, right? Because the yellow still attacks for 5, and the blue even still attacks for 4, so it still has a really good break point. So if you can draft like a bunch of Death Touch, I think you could make Uzuri work. And pointedly, Death Touch doesn't work very well with Arachne because you
No.
have to like arsenal it ahead of time.
Yeah.
I think Death Touch, by the way, is very much a Riptide Arachne card.
Yeah.
It's probably not great in Azalea because it's the same problem that that Arachne has. You have to kind of like wait to like load it. But Riptide, you can just rock on in with this thing.
Yeah, I mean, I was expecting in this set to have like more reload, but the reload is not really a thing in this set.
Yeah.
It's Riptide's ability is reload in the set, isn't it? Essentially.
Yep. And
so yeah,
just
so
super good.
Death Touch is ridiculous in Riptide.
And then there's also oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say the other.
Meditate, can't you? Oh, sorry. Getting so hyped up over these cards.
Yeah.
I'll just take my headset off now. Carry on.
I do also think the other deck that's going to be super annoying to play against in limited specifically is Benji.
Yeah. Screw Benji.
Benji is kept in check by having efficient like equipment blocks, and most of the time you won't have that if you're playing against Benji. So
yeah, the good news is Benji starts with less life. The lowest life actually, because Riptide has 18, I think. So Benji has 17. Yeah, but I mean Benji's just going to be a pain in the butt, just in general. I think. I think Benji is going to be similar to like Benji is to Arachne what Katsu is to Uzuri. Like I think you're probably most of the time going to be playing Benji because it's just going to be way easier to like have a deck. Whereas like Katsu, you're gonna need like some amount of good combo cards to make his ability even like worth using. Whereas if you just like, I just got a bunch of just generically good stuff or a bunch of like 2-power cards, I'm just like, I'm gonna Benji you. Here you go. Like I think Benji will just be easier. But if you can do it, Katsu could probably be pretty strong if you get the right combo cards. And they did a good job of this set with like making it so that the combo cards don't have to have like the whole combo chain. Like I think Spinning Wheel Kick is a really good example of that. Whereas like
it's such a good 2-card combo.
The fact that it just has native Go Again is so good. Here, I'll pull it up. It's a 1-for-4 with Go Again for the red. And it has combo. And if Twin Twisters or another Spinning Wheel Kick was the last attack this combat chain, it gets +1, and if it hits, put on the bottom of its owner's deck. But the fact that it has native Go Again means that who cares what the last card you played was? You can just start off with a Spinning Wheel Kick if you have to. Like with a blue, you can Kadachi Spinning Wheel Kick, like pretty easily. Let's see what else is there. I mean, there's a lot of stuff to talk about for draft. I think a sleeper hit for Azalea for draft, by the way, is Seek Horizon reprint. So Seek Horizon is a 0-for-4, and as an additional cost to play it, you may put a card from your hand on top of your deck. If you do, it gains Go Again. So like this is some tech. This is some old school tech that I actually used to play when I used to play Azalea a lot. Is that you Seek Horizon, put your sweet arrow on top, and then you activate your bow, and then you Azalea to put the card that you just put on top into your arsenal, will dominate, and you shoot them. Yeah. So this is like that's a pretty standard play, and the fact that Seek Horizon is common. That's a great play line for limited Azalea, like for sure. Like so this will be great.
It works as well because obviously Barbed Castaway is the token bow. It's not like you're death dealering, because if you were to death dealer the card, you would just draw the card that you just put there from Seek Horizon.
Yep, exactly.
Whereas with Barbed Castaway, you're just putting it in there face up, and then you can dominate it with the ability, which is good. Yeah, it's a good one. Yeah, I've never thought about that, but it's definitely a good sealed draft sort of thing. Nice generic Go Againer, which does just synergize with Azalea.
Yeah, I think if you're going to be drafting Azalea in particular, this is going to be like a pretty great card because it's a 0-for-4 with Go Again, right? That gives you advantage. So I think Seek Horizon is going to be really, really great. There's some other ones that we talked about that are like, I don't know, like the Freewheeling Renegades, which is like a 1-for-6, but if they defend with an action card, it gets -2, so it'll be like a 1-for-4. So like sometimes it's going to be really good, and sometimes it's going to be kind of poop. There's also the opposite, Feisty Locals, which is a 0-for-3, and if your opponent is defends with an action card, it gets +2. so it goes up to 5. This is probably a card that they just say I no blocks. Like this is a no block card.
Yeah.
Oops, I clicked off the thing. And then I actually really like Destructive Deliberation, which is like a 2 for 5, and if it hits a hero, create a ponder token, which I think is like pretty solid in limited. I think this card will do work, like the red and the yellow, because the yellow is a 2 for 4.
It's a nice tempo, isn't it? If you've only got 2 cards left, after blocking a turn, you can then essentially attack with this, and then maybe get the on hit of the draw card as well to replace your arsenal.
Yeah.
So you can get back into it, with a bit of card draw essentially.
Yeah, and I think this is going to be one of the decent ones for Uzuri because if you have 2 reds, you can still play this, right? You attack with your stealth card, and then you sneak in Destructive Deliberation. So this is another one that I think will be good for Uzuri.
It's a sneaky one.
Cut down to size is another one. It's a 2 for 6. It's common, and if it hits a hero, if your opponent has 4 or more cards in hand, they have to discard a card. This is cool because it just forces them to block. They just have to block. This will rip a card out of their hand no matter what, which I think is like not too bad. And we have, I think Looking for a Scrap is really, really good in limited. It's a 1 for 4, and as an additional cost, you can banish a card with 1 attack, or like base 1 attack from your graveyard. If you do, it gains +1 and go again. So it's a 1 for 5 go again if you banish a 1 attack card from your bin. And if you're playing Assassin, you're probably gonna have a bunch of 1 attack blue stealth cards. Yeah. So like this is probably a good one for Assassin in particular, actually. And probably Benji too. You probably have a bunch of one attack cards in Benji. So I think this one in particular is like probably really good in Assassin and in Benji.
Well, yeah, because you just use your blues to either pitch or block. So if you can then utilize the banish from the graveyard to get a 1 for 5 go again out of it later after you've blocked with it, that is pretty good. Yeah, didn't think about that actually.
Yeah, and then one last card I would like to bring attention to, not for limited, I just think it's really cool, and that is Burdens of the Past. Which is it's a majestic,
the defense reaction one.
Yes. Oh, I love this card. I love it so much. I love everything about this card. I love the art, the flavor. I love what it does. I currently have 3 of these in my Uzuri deck in the sideboard. So it's a 0-cost blue card. It blocks for 3 and has go again. So first of all, it's a 0-cost blue card that blocks for 3, which is like just pretty good, right? But it also says until the end of turn, target hero can't play defense reactions with the same name as a card in their graveyard. If there are 10 or more defense reaction cards in their graveyard, you get a draw card, and this has go again. This is just good. Like, suck it, Oldham. Suck it.
It really is.
Riptide. Like, this is a card where, like, if I ask you, I'm like, hey, can I look at your graveyard? Like, this is, like, I have this in my hand. I want to see if, like, how many, like, sink belows and unmovables and other crap you have in your bin. So I'm like, okay.
It's just so optly named as well. It's just like Burns of the Past. Just like Oldham's like, oh no, he's looking at all my fatigues.
Yeah. And for those listening, my internet has it stuttered just a little bit. So Azz and Bill are just they're a little frozen. And as you can see, Azz is frozen in the Burdens of the Past position. We'll have to see how long this lasts. Hey, how's it going? This is it's just me here. I'm just talking. Burdens of the Past is a sweet card, and I love the flavor of Arachne on it. Like, it's like the burdens of their past, both from their kills and from possibly being experimented on. It's really cool. The flavor is really, really sweet, and hopefully my buddies will come back. So we're gonna take a little pause here. We'll take a little intermission, and we'll see when the rest of the Living Legends crew comes back for the finale of the episode.
Hey, he's back.
Hey, yeah. So on my side, you guys just froze, and so I was just talking to the lovely listeners and viewers out there by myself, as was frozen like this. And so I was like, hey, we'll come back for the exciting conclusion of this episode of the Living Legends podcast. And here we are. We are
We're
back. We are back. I mentioned that I think the art and the flavor on this card is awesome because it's got I think it represents all of the past kills that Arachne has, but also possibly them being experimented on, because in the top you can see a looming figure with potential scalpels. There's 2 knives or 2 little pointy things. I love this card. Everything about it.
One of the things I was saying with Tommy specifically is there are so many cards in this set that would make just an obscenely nice playmat. Burdens of the Past is one of them. What was the other one that I really liked here? Honestly, Destructive Deliberation is really cool. There's a lot of movement and color in that.
Which one was that one?
It's
yes,
one
yes.
that on hit create a ponder token.
The
Rush-Off.
the Sod Irfin one.
Yeah, Rush-Off is a really good playmat. Honestly, Amnesia.
I'm gonna shout out some of the artists here. Yeah, so shout out to Ramza Artiputra from Burdens of the Past as well. That looks just awesome. Looks so cool.
Yeah.
Amnesia. Well, yeah. Shout out to Reardon Delmero, of course. He's always got something awesome. I don't know if you're watching this episode, Reardon. I know you watch some of the videos. I don't know if you're watching an hour and 50 minutes into this, but awesome work. And I also want to give my personal favorite art, or at least up there, is Knives Out. Let me pull it up real quick.
I was about to say that one actually for me wins for best playmat.
I love this so much. And when I got the art, so this art was sent to me, I didn't know what the card did, but I knew what the name of the card was. I knew it was called Knives Out, and I got the art from the LSS creative department for my video, and I actually messaged this is Henrik Lindner. I always mess up his name, but I chat with him a little bit on Twitter, and I was like, dude, your art in this set is insane. And he's like, oh, which ones did they show you? And I was like, I told him which ones, and he's like, oh yeah. So we actually chatted about it a little bit, and he told me, here's a little bit of insider stuff. He told me that he tried to do the red dot eyes for Knives Out in a different piece of art, and they wanted to go a different direction. So he was actually really excited when they let him do the red eyes for this, and I was like, dude, it looks so good. It looks like a folk legend, or like a scary story, like a scary European folk story or something that you would tell the children about, don't be naughty, or the knife demon will come into your window and stab your eyes out or something. That's Oh, I love this card. I love the art.
Perching on your windowsill, looking at you like that.
Yeah, he's got these pointy boots. And he's just kind of like chilling. Yeah. So, Flesh and Blood has amazing art, and love giving credit where credit is very, very much due. And then I'm just gonna pull up Widowmaker here so everyone can look at Widowmaker's lovely legs.
Yeah, it's a good one.
But anything else you guys want to talk about for Outsiders before we cap it off for this time? Well, I'm sure we'll have much more to say in future episodes, but
I think I've touched on basically everything that I'd like to. One of the things that I mentioned to Az just while we were frozen was I showed him the list of decks that I've sort of thrown together just while we were talking today.
Oh yeah.
Some of them are copies. I have a couple of Katsu lists here, and this Azalea list is just that standard Levi list. But I have a spec for small Katsu, for aggro small Arachne, for Tiger Benji, and this is the most amount of decks that I've made for Flesh and Blood in a long time. So I think that should let y'all know just how excited I am for some of these things. It's just going to be weird stuff.
This is the first CC deck that I have brewed since Everfest, I think.
Yeah.
Because I've just been on Blitz and UPF and Limited and all that kind of stuff. I haven't really played CC much. And the CC that I have played, I've just kind of more or less net deck stuff just to play with friends because they're like, I want to play CC. Like Az was like, I want to play CC. And I'm like, All right, let me go scrounge something up. Net deck to Viscera and change like 4 cards because I was like, I want to make it my own little thing. But like this is the first time in a while that I'm like, I really, really am into building my Uzuri deck, and it is CC, and I'm like, this is gonna cost me so much money because I want to foil it out, and it's like, I have like a lot of the cards, but the problem with Arachne and Uzuri is like there's not a ton of crossover. I'll be using a couple of the cards, but not all of them. So
Yeah.
And I'm gonna have to get. Oh, we didn't talk about this episode, like the extended art legendaries. We didn't even talk about like there's like the collectability. Like I need the extended art redback shroud.
Yep.
Cold foil. Gimme. And I wonder if we will see more extended art legendaries that
I'm thinking as well.
we just haven't seen yet, because Flick Knives was spoiled by Star City Games, I think, something like that.
Mhm.
And so they actually never showed off what the card actually looks like. So like there is a chance that like Flick Knives has like extended art, like there's an extended version of it.
Yeah. God, it's gonna be fun. It's also gonna be a nice change from Dynasty for collecting purposes, because wow, Dynasty is like I'm still trying to work on that collection. There was just so much.
Good luck.
All the marvels, yeah.
I only pulled like 2 Marvel. Well, that's not true. I pulled 3 Marvels, but one of them was for a supporter. Out of like
pulled a second Marvel Crouching Tiger though. So
I have one. I have one of those. Yeah, the Marvel weapons that I pulled a rock, I pulled Hanabi Blaster, and I pulled Sanskar Great Bow. But the Sanskar Great Bow is actually for a supporter. For like a supporter box opening, which is great for them because that card's worth a bunch of money right now.
Yeah.
Like $100, $200, something like that.
Nice.
Which is pretty sweet.
One of the things I was pumped about as well, that I ended up picking mine up from a good friend of mine, Kaylee.
Nice.
For I think just about 100 USD. It was like 120 Canadian. And then I think it was like 2 or 3 weeks after that, it had spiked to like 175 USD or something. And I was like, yeah.
I did the opposite for the rock. I sold it high, and then it started to tank because everyone realized it actually sucks. I sold the rock for like 120, 130 or something like that. I'm pretty sure it's still like worth like $80 or something. I'm not really sure.
Yeah.
But,
that's value though.
Yeah. I'm not going to use the rock. I don't really play Brute. But I'm not opposed to Brute. It's just there's a lot of classes in Flesh and Blood, and they're all asking for my time. And when Assassin's like, please play me, and I'm like, yes, please, yes, I'll play you.
Me.
And then Ranger's like, please play me, and I'm like, fine, but only after I'm done playing Assassin. And then Ninja's like, me too, and I'm like, okay, fine.
All right, yeah, maybe.
And then
I'll
see some weird jank thing that I want to build, like my big axe Dorinthia, and I'm like, ooh, I want to play this weird garbage. That's actually like can be good, like semi jank garbage that. If the stars align, you can make it work.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the overall impressions here on the Living Legend podcast is that we're all excited for Outsiders.
Yeah.
That's sweet.
I can't wait. We do have pre-releases coming up pretty soon. I'm not sure what we're going to talk about in the next episode. But I do know we're probably going to do like a top 5 kind of deal soon. Maybe the next one, maybe after pre-release. We'll see. I say maybe because we might have, and I'll probably leave this in, we might have Brian Gottlieb on the podcast right after pre-release. So yeah, that'll be really good. Prep your questions. Don't ask them now because I'm not going to come back and get the questions from here. We'll facilitate. We'll ask the questions on like Twitter and Discord and stuff like properly when the time comes.
Yeah, I think it makes sense, for us to get him on after we've experienced the limited format as well. So yeah, that makes sense. That'll be good.
He has a pretty small. I'll talk to you guys about this off screen because it's just boring scheduling crap. Where I'm just like, yeah, he's got like a time frame, and I'm gonna be like, yeah, we have to schedule the time frame. But we also have Sam Yang, who is going to be coming on at some point soon to talk about like art, and we also have Joshua Scott from he's like the rules manager and the head judge for Flesh and Blood, and he is really looking forward to coming on, and I'm really looking forward to having him on after Pro Tour is what I've talked to him about. So after Baltimore.
We'll have a lot of good stuff to talk about then. A lot of reveals going to happen, and that.
Yeah. So
yes,
lots of exciting stuff. Getting some really cool people from LSS to come on here and to chat about designing Flesh and Blood in all aspects. So there's a lot of stuff to look forward to here on the Living Legends podcast. Before we go, does anyone have anything in your arsenal, or has it just been all-consuming Outsiders like it has been for me?
pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah,
Just-
basically
yeah.
that.
I've just been
It's been pretty good. I've been something that I was mentioning to I don't know, a couple of people. I don't remember if I mentioned it on the podcast, but as of like just over a month ago, I suppose, I got a promotion at my job. So
yeah.
Nice.
I don't remember if I had mentioned that already, but that's been the only other thing that's really taking up my time recently.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
You definitely mentioned it to Az and I. I don't know if it was on air or not. So
Yeah.
because that time has now like blended together. It's like
Yeah, like I
Yeah,
said,
'cause
it's
that's
been a
why we
while,
got-
so-
Yeah, because that's the episode when we got Ian on, because you had a full-on week at work. So
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, we'll get Ian on instead. So I'm not sure
Just
whether we mentioned
totally
it on that
burned.
episode or not. But
I don't.
congratulations, well done.
Hell yeah,
thank you.
man. Hell yeah. Do we have anything that we should make the listeners say if they're listening to this 2 hours in? Because this is about 2 hours. It's a long-
Let's have people comment down below what they think they're the spiciest new deck that will arise from these new cards is, because obviously we have 3 very, very different new styles of decks.
yeah.
And I'm excited to see either what people are excited to play or something that they think might be like but just while we're talking here again, I've been showing people this spec list that I have for aggro young Arachne. And people are like, oh, this is interesting. This
Yeah.
is weird.
So
Who are you most excited to play?
tell us your
Comment.
spice. Tell us your spice. My current spice is pick a card, any card into Shakedown.
Yeah.
I want to see your hand. I don't care if I get any silver, but I'm still gonna see your hand. And so when my Shakedown hits, I know what I'm gonna take from it. So yeah,
Epic.
that's my play. And also I get to play pick a card, any card, which is fun.
Yeah. I love that card.
Speaking of which, I need to go get some. I need to get some extended art foil ones to go in this deck.
I think I might have some actually, like lying around. I just don't. I still need to sort loads of cards, to be honest. That's one other task I need to do at some point.
Me too.
Bulk everywhere.
Just
Me
always
too.
have cards to sort. It's
Yeah.
a sickness for me. So
Oh, it's gonna get real bad in a week or so here when I finally start getting my Outsider stuff. The studio here gets messy because I just open up all the boxes and I just have crap just
Packs.
everywhere. Yeah.
yeah, I have one case on the way, and I just signed up for the 2 pre-releases that my local game stores are running. They're both happening on the same day, but thankfully they sort of coordinated so they don't overlap. So I'm going to be able to do both. I'm very happy about that.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's what they do here in Portland. They schedule them so some people actually just do the run. They just hit like 3 or 4 pre-releases all in the same day. I'll be going to one because I got other stuff I got to do. But I'm definitely going to one, and the store I've already like reserved my spot. I'm really looking forward to it. It's an earlier one. I think it's like a 10 a.m.
Nice.
kind of deal, but it's really fun. I'm looking forward to it. And I'm also looking forward to the skirmish season, actually. I usually don't have enough time to play in these kind of events, but now that I've been shifting my focus more and more into Flesh and Blood, even though it was already mostly Flesh and Blood, I think I actually might be able to make some time to attend some skirmish events and stuff, especially if they are sealed, which I'm very much looking forward to.
Yeah.
And even if they're not sealed, maybe I'll just jam some No Fuse Lexi and pew, 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 pew. Yeah. Anyway,
Epic.
thank you all so much for joining me. Thank you to my lovely 2 co-hosts, Az and Bill. where can they find you, Mr. Azz, who is now a paid YouTuber?
Yeah. So yeah, I'm Azz from Go Again Gaming. You can find me on YouTube, Go Again Gaming, and on Twitter at Go Again Gaming AZ. Definitely go and subscribe if you haven't done so already, because there's going to be some sick videos coming out. One of which I'm taking a long time editing. Obviously, it's the UPF videos again that I'm going to be doing. They take a long time. I'm going to post a tweet of the timeline of how it looks, because it just looks absolutely mad. Like, you know, the amount of cuts and stuff there is in it. So yeah, and all these guys will appear on my channel as well in some shape or form. So obviously we got Kel's on one of the UPF videos that we've already filmed, an international one, which is good. And Bill is obviously a regular guest on the Azalea Ringer series as well. And I'm sure you'll see Kel there again as well at some stage.
Yeah,
yeah.
I've just become an absolute heel on Azz's channel. Like,
yeah, I'm just not inviting you back after that.
Like, I played Viscerai, and it's just like, I'm like, oh, this will be fun, because I wanted to pick, like, an off-meta deck. Like, I didn't want to play, like, Icelander or Oldham or whatever. So I'm like, yeah, Viscerai looks fun, and it's still gross. It's still gross. And then in the UPF game, just, I won't spoil it. Just watch, but I'm an absolute heel. I look at the camera, I make some calls, and it's like, it's a fun one. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. That's a good one.
And, Bill, where can the lovely people find you?
I am Bill from the Spike Feeders. You can find me online at BillTSF on Twitter, as well as on the Spike Feeders FAB YouTube channel. We do live edited gameplay content. If that's something that interests you, then please feel free to check it out. I will be very soon. I think he's working on it now. Also be featured on the Fresh and Buds podcast with my boy Tommy Fresh. We like I mentioned earlier, we sat down and went through literally every card in Outsiders and sort of rated them just based on our understanding of them. So big shout out to Tommy Fresh. He's a really good friend of mine, and something that I always look forward to doing with him is reviewing these sets. So definitely go show him some love. Check that out when it drops. Labor of love. It's something that takes us a decent amount of time and energy. So yeah, I think it's going to be a really good time. So, but yeah, that's me.
Hell yeah!
Shout out to Fresh and Buds as well. He was also on the first UPF video that's going to be dropping, and also a teaser featured on Red Zone Rogue stream that day when we were speaking about the Outsiders stuff.
Yeah,
Tommy appeared on there in part of the clip. So yeah, he's going to be on that as well. So yeah, definitely go check him out when you can. But yeah, it's been fun, even though it's now 20 to 2 in the morning for me.
Hell yeah!
We should probably let him go.
Thanks you all so much for watching, and stay tuned for the next episode of the Living Legends podcast. We'll see you then. Bye everyone.
Cheers.